Good evening. Welcome to the 5-8, where we discuss each of the week's 5 most fucked up topics for 8 minutes each. 5 topics, 8 minutes to host, to guest, some singing, a lot of curse words, and as many cocktails as we deem necessary. LB, another week has gone by, another week in the books. Well put. Well put.
That's all I've got is a big sigh and a big gulp of beautifully clean ice water. That's it. That's all I've got. How was your week?
Well, I'm still buzzing because the Knicks won by like 50-something points last night.
Crazy.
In a closeout basketball game, which never happened. Like, you have to understand. I mean, I know people, this isn't the most sporty community here, but like watching the Knicks has been an exercise in frustration for the last, since 1999, this entire century. It's been just, they're getting a little better. But
we're over never a game through this century. That's a long time.
I know.
Yeah. Yes.
There's never a time when you can watch the game and just be like, we've got this one. We don't have to worry about this one. This is just a coast. And it's like last night they made up for 25 years of that. And they just, they just beat, like, I went to pick up my wife and son at the airport, and I got back at halfway through the second quarter, and I turned the game on, and it was like 61-19. And I was like, wait, what the fuck is happening? What is this?
Yeah,
this is
even I was aware of this, and I couldn't care less about basketball, but I became aware of it, and I saw some of it, and I'm like, they're just like the other team. I'm like, what's up with this other team? They were just sort of standing there and watching, kind of moving a little bit. It was such a show of force. It was pretty fun, actually. I was like,
it was fun. It was fun. It was fun. It was the first time that we know of that a visiting team got to 100 points before the home team got to 50. That's the best way that you could think about it. Like, it was just a pummeling.
Were visiting. They weren't even the home team.
No. They went to Atlanta, and it was like Sherman.
Yeah.
New Yorkers haven't destroyed Atlanta since Sherman. This bad. That's the line. Okay.
All right. That's the line.
So that's it. I know the week has been crazy and horrible. Everything's going to shit, but at least the Knicks closed out the Hawks.
At least the Knicks. We've got the Knicks. Yeah. That's sort of like a theme for tonight, right? We're kind of hanging on to the good stuff, trying to find
this may be a sign of the apocalypse, however, but still, it's okay. It's okay. We're just going to enjoy it. Okay. We're just going to enjoy it, and that's what we're going to do.
Nice. Well, I've got some neckwear on. I don't normally wear neckwear.
Okay.
This is from the Dakotas, back from when I was a little kid. The Santi made this for us, and then this is in spirit with our guest tonight. And look at my little doll, everybody. I've had her for over 50 years, over half a century. And I love her. They made this for me, and her arms move. Isn't she wonderful? So anyway, I have her with me tonight.
Okay. It's like a good luck charm. I think
yes.
It's a good luck charm.
Yes.
Yeah. And we need all the luck. We need the luck.
I think we're going to need some should we just dive into it? Greg? I want to get to our guest. Speaking of our guest.
Let's hit the timer
and get it going.
I'm
going to hit the timer so we don't go long.
You need luck if you don't have a ballroom, because if you have a ballroom, nothing can possibly ever go wrong.
How have we survived this long without a ballroom?
What can we do without a ballroom?
What can we do?
Anything that's a problem. I banged my knee. If I had a ballroom, never would have banged my knee. That never would have happened without a ballroom.
Never would have happened. Arthritis. I've got arthritis in my knees. Yeah.
If I just had a ballroom.
If I had that ballroom.
Yeah, I was going to do. I had thought about doing a parody this week from Fiddler on the Roof. If I had a ballroom, da 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 da, and I couldn't. I just couldn't do it. I'm like, it's too stupid.
It's too stupid. It's so stupid. I can't handle it. So anyway, we're back in the land of really. It's getting very stupid again in dangerous, new and excitingly dangerous ways. Or terrifyingly dangerous, I should say. So we had our show last Friday night, and Saturday night was the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Thank God it wasn't on at the same time. It would have been crazy in the comments. We wouldn't have been able to follow it. It would have been a nightmare. And we've learned a lot since then. Of course, there was an unhinged person, possibly in mental distress. Very hard to tell. We're never going to get it. We're told by our acting attorney general, there's no evidence. It just tends to disappear on crime scenes, especially crime scenes that are protected by the Secret Service, from top to bottom. And there's all kinds of National Guard, and the most, powerful people in our government are all assembled if there's a crime that happens there, and all the press are there as witnesses. But if a crime happens there, Greg, apparently evidence can just go into the, it'd be like the scientists that are, I guess, get beamed up into outer space. I don't know. But we're supposed to believe that. Anyway, I don't know whether this guy had a gun. Who knows? We're so in this place of obliterated truth that I just don't know. I don't know what I can believe of any of that. I'm not going to jump in one camp or the other because it doesn't matter. The end effect of it was, and somebody called this on Twitter. I love that Twitter as a brand is persisting. There's no X, it's just Twitter still. Mm-hmm. But someone posted within a matter of, I'd say an hour, a couple hours after that, just like, whatever, we're going to find out that this is going to get used to justify something horrific. I think was thinking and the feeling of that tweet was like, God, this is going to be used to justify an atrocity or something. Mm-hmm. Nope. It's going to be used to justify the ballroom.
The ballroom. Yeah. Yeah.
The ball.
Yeah. Foxtrot, to do a little foxtrot, as in Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. And that it's just crazy. I mean, other people pointed out, like, it's literally a room full of journalists and there's all this disinformation going on.
Yeah.
They can't get their shit together. They can't get the story straight. It doesn't matter. I mean, we're at the point now, and this is I think the takeaway. We're at the point now in things where it's reported in the press that there's an assassination attempt or gunshots or whatever. And the first thing that everyone thinks is, oh, it's staged. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
He's cried wolf so many fucking times that nobody believes him, Yeah. And, oh, it's another, and that doesn't mean that it is staged or anything else. It doesn't matter because, first of all, everybody was okay other than the Secret Service guy that got shot by the other Secret Service
guy. The other Secret Service guy.
And then, so it's just all, it's theater. It's performative theater, and it's there to promote this ballroom because right after this happened, the whole right-wing media ecosystem, all of the tenant media, Kremlin-funded tenant media affiliated people, all out with the same messaging, which is, well, if Trump had a ballroom, this would never mind that the White House Correspondents' Dinner will never ever take place in the White House. It doesn't matter.
It's so stupid. It's even that. It's even like, we're just going to say, because it has the word White House in it and Trump, that Trump is there, that it must be that it was in the White House and nobody will know the difference. Mm-hmm. And by the way, there was a ballroom. He tore down the ballroom. So the ballroom apparently wasn't enough to not itself get destroyed. So this argument of, if you have a ballroom, nothing bad can happen. Well, we had a ballroom and it's been destroyed. So it's just insane. The reasoning is, I don't know where the money went from. I just want to follow some of the corruption, to start with this. So there was over 200 million, or was it almost 3, that was raised privately. That was the reporting. That's what everybody said they were doing. The president Donald had pulled together a lot of those tech oligarchs and some other folks.
He just went through the Epstein Black Book and made calls. That's what he did.
That's what he did. He has a copy of that Black Book, apparently. Made the calls. They show up. They're writing him checks for favors, right? So, and the sort of pay to play at the beginning of the year of 2026 was for this ballroom. So it was supposed to be privately funded. I don't know where any of that money went. Do you know where that money went? Nobody knows where that money went. It's apparently now there's another 400 million now that needs to come, and it needs to come from taxpayer dollars. All of a sudden, this thing is not privately funded. It's going to be funded by our So there's at least, I don't know, $300 million missing, right? Or is this a $700 million ballroom? What's happening here?
I mean,
now there's a judge. I want to note this for too. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. There's a judge that ruled because of the historic society around in protecting the monuments, protecting, what he demolished, and to put forth new architectural plans and build this new ballroom. It's violating existing laws, right?
That'll stop them.
Surprise. So a judge has someone brought a lawsuit, and a judge went ahead and said, this needs to all be paused and be stalled unless there's something that overrides it, such as a national security issue. Hence the need for the ballroom to protect Trump, because it's a way to get around this judge's ruling. So it's just all corruption, top to bottom. Hundreds of millions of dollars disappeared and gone. And I don't know what any of this has to do with keeping Americans safe, our economy, the price of gas. Like, what people have real struggles and real issues. And all we're doing is talking about a stupid fucking ballroom. It's so dumb. It's so grotesque.
But I think really what it is Amber Woods wrote a piece about this. It's a ballroom above ground, and it's something else underneath the ground.
Yeah, right.
And the fact
he called it that, right?
The fact that they keep calling it a ballroom is funny to me. Like, let's pick the most Gatsbyan, ridiculous, tuxedoed thing that, I mean, who goes to a ballroom ever in their life? You go to, like, maybe your senior prom, maybe a wedding or two. That's it. Nobody's in a ballroom, At
Mar-a-Lago, though, all the events are in the ballroom.
I guess. I'm not a person that sits around thinking, you know what I need? A ballroom. It'd be great if we had a ballroom it's just silly. And Trump is like, I think as he wants one, he just assumes everyone cares about this. I don't know. It's very weird. Whatever. We don't need to talk about the ballroom.
We don't need to talk about it anymore.
We don't need to talk about this assassin, this dangerous assassin.
No. It's
he did write a manifesto, and Norah O'Donnell did call Trump on the manifesto, and Trump did say on 60 Minutes, I'm not a rapist. I don't rape.
Yeah.
I'm not a pedophile.
And then she goes, oh, you thought he was talking about you. She dropped that line on him, Nora.
It was good.
It was pretty good. And he did think he was talking about him. So, and maybe
he was. Yeah. Okay. Next topic.
Okay. Next topic. That's what happened last week. So we're moving on to, I just wanted to touch this. I don't know if this deserves the full 8 minutes. These Trump kids, and I mean, they're adults, but it's kind of insane, this grift. And we'll get to it later, maybe talk about it with our guests a little bit, of this sort of the money and how the money is just pouring from crazy sources into and getting stuffed into the wallets of everyone. But to sort of distract from all of that, we have a lot of this performance art. It's sort of like administration by performance art, right?
Right.
And you had written something about Kash Patel, and just reminding everybody about how much at the center Kash Patel has been of a lot of this. The ballroom is just the latest manifestation of massive corruption, with the performance art in front of it, and everybody showing up with their talking points for it to be a distraction away from actually getting robbed, right? The people getting robbed. And Kash Patel is got like a history of all of this.
He's ground zero.
He is ground zero. So talk us through that a little bit.
Yeah. That's why I filled my Manhattan. Because we have to have the proper libation to talk about the subject.
Okay.
Kash Patel has been, and I wrote my piece on Tuesday where I was asking questions, that I want him to answer, not under oath because he'll lie, but like with Wonder Woman, throwing the magic lasso around him, so he has to tell the truth. I don't like the idea of him being so close to Wonder Woman, to be clear, but sacrifices for the team. But Kash Patel has been at the center of so much of this stuff. Like at the very beginning, he comes onto the scene. He's very deep into all the QAnon bullshit. Even though he said he
so
wasn't. Wired
by very
magazine.
Beginning, by very beginning, just to give reference, you're talking about the first.
This is back in 2016, 2015, 2016.
Okay.
He's deeply embedded in that community. He says he isn't. Wired magazine wrote an entire like long article about all the times that he was. Then he gets into the whole, they're trying to figure out what to do with the Steele dossier and the fact that Trump is obviously a Kremlin asset. They don't know what to do. Patel says, why don't we say that the Steele dossier was Hillary and the FISA warrant, and they're trying to tap Trump, like all of the whole narrative bullshit or horse shit, as you would say, that comes out of this is Kash Patel's idea. He's very good at like just making shit up that sticks and that goes into the ether with these MAGA people who just lap it up. They just lap up the shit, right? He's involved with the Nunes memo. Remember the Nunes memo that was going to do all this stuff? I think he might have even written the Nunes memo.
The memo.
Sure. Yeah, that did nothing. It was like somebody said, I think it was Asha Ragrappa said, it was like somebody pulled the pin and threw the pin and kept the grenade. Like it just was just a nothing. But also he was the chief of staff for acting defense secretary Christopher Miller during J6. Right. During J6. And it was the defense secretary that stood down the National Guard. Yeah. So Kash Patel's right in the middle of this. And one of the things I learned writing the article is that Jack Smith, in his investigations, subpoenaed Kash Patel's phone records. And it said in the article that I read that this was for Operation Arctic Frost. And I thought it was for the documents case because he was involved with the documents. He was involved with NARA. He was the designee for Trump's presidential records, all this stuff.
NARA is a National
Archives and Records Administration. So, but that's not true. Arctic Frost was the investigation into J6. So Jack Smith subpoenaed Kash Patel's comms for the J6 investigation. This is the motherfucker running the FBI right now, which is insane. Okay. So you've got the documents case. Remember, Kash Patel was like, Trump can declassify things with his mind. He can declassify with his mind and whatever. Yeah. Another narrative that people just classify with his mind. It's ridiculous. And then the whole NARA thing. And then he's on, Steve Bannon's show while Biden is president saying that, when we're back in power, we're going to go after people criminally and civilly. We're going to do all these things. We're going to be vengeful, blah, blah, blah. And now here he is as the director of the FBI. He's covered up the Epstein files and he knows what's in them, presumably. So Kash Patel knows more shit than almost anyone about the crimes, plural, multiple plural, that Trump has committed. And by covering up the crimes in the way that he's doing, Kash Patel is, as I see it, complicit in the crimes. He's covering up the Epstein files. That ain't legal. We have a law that says they have to be released and he's not releasing them. So, that's all. That I just want to just kind of emphasize that this guy is right at the center of all of this stuff. And you made a point about, we were talking this morning about, he's such an inept director of the FBI. And in that job, he's, of course, horrifying, but that's not actually the job that he's tasked with doing by Trump. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Well, it's just this. And then again, this was someone else's post, but something you and I have talked about quite a bit. I just don't know if we've done it on air, of this sort of thinking that, oh my gosh, he went out and found the least qualified, worst people. These are all just a bunch of clowns and losers. And okay, yes, but we're putting forward our expectations for in the job description of the director of the FBI or the attorney general, as we understand them to be as U.S. citizens, based on past history, but also why the jobs were created, and that level of seriousness and expertise that one and skill that one would and history, right? That one would think those jobs require and that have required in the past. But that's putting an expectation on these folks that Donald has picked that does not line up at all with what they are actually really good at and why he's hired them and put them in place. Mm-hmm. Pam Bondi was not hired to be the attorney general. She was hired to cover up the Epstein files, and she did a great job at that.
She did. She did.
Kash Patel was not hired to be the FBI director. He was hired to come in and create these narratives and just compromise the whole situation and fuck everything up as much as possible.
Including himself.
Including himself, right? And so once you sort of see it that way, if you can just turn your eye a little bit, your mind's eye a little bit, and go, oh, they're actually really good at what they were hired to do. Yep. It's just not the job as we know it or expect it, or as it has been performed in the past.
Also, one more point before we move on.
Yeah.
Kash Patel and Pam Bondi both were shareholders and stakeholders in Trump's media company.
Yeah.
Along with Devin Nunes and a couple other people, not very many people. He was given stakes and shares in this company, which is worth a lot of money. And I think he said he was going to put his shares in whatever the blind trust bullshit, but I don't know if he actually did. Apparently, we're not sure if the paperwork was. Pam Bondi sold some of hers for millions of dollars, but he picked people he'd pre-bribed to do these jobs.
Right. Cheaply.
Right. It all comes back to Casa. It comes back to Andor, as we'll see, and Casablanca. I don't mind a parasite. I object to a cut rate one. That's what he says in Casablanca. So, okay.
Okay, so we're gonna move on. We've got a little. We thought for the media this week, because we were both so busy and crazy, but I just want to remind everybody that I don't think there was Trump Lego media before ours.
Chunks before Chunks.
Well, we sort of crafted it. You sang it. Chunk animated it.
Oh, you sang it.
Did I sing this? Oh yeah, I did sing this.
You sang it.
I sang this. Okay. So, oh my God, my horrible voice. So, when did we do this?
It was a while ago. It was before the election, because there's election things in it that I modified slightly.
Yeah, it was a couple years ago. Yeah. Okay.
But your passport to fascist stupidity is the actual title of the show, and this is a stupid week, and all I can say is
everything is stupid. Everything is done when Trump is your king. Everything is stupid. We mean everything. Everything is worse with Nazis on the platforms. It's all fascists and rapists and anti-vax morons in MAGA heaven. There's no doubt that they pull down their pants just to count to 11. Everything is stupid. Everything is done when Trump is your king. Everything is stupid. We mean every fucking thing. Everything is stupid. Everything is done when Trump is your king. Everything is stupid. We mean every fucking thing.
Lauren Boebert, Ethan Green.
We just named 3 stupid things. Rank corruption, dereliction. You know what's stupid? Bleach injections. Trumpy bear, that wretched hair. Stupid things are everywhere. Kanye West, 5D chess. Stupid shit will always be best. Crimes, wines, no spines. They're stupid. Mobs, shit slobs, nut jobs. They're stupid. Lies and flies, his ties. That's stupid. Everything he thinks and does and says is stupid.
It's so stupid.
That's one of the golden ones. It really is.
Oh my God. I just love how stupid we are. So perfect. Okay. You know what's not stupid?
Our guest.
Not stupid? Our guest.
Our guest is great. So he is a filmmaker, an artist, a social activist, and the creative director of Creative Native Networks. DJ Two Bears.
DJ Two
Bears to the 5-8. How are you?
Welcome.
I'm doing great. How about you guys?
We're good. We're glad to have you.
Thank you so much for having you. And go Knicks. I know I'm a Lakers fan, but go Knicks. One of my good friends, his name's Quentin Dolan. He's a part of the family there for the New York Knicks. He's always like, you got to be a Knicks fan, bro. Knicks fan. I'm like, after the night, I'm like, oh my God. That was an insane
I
win.
think you should join. There's room on the bandwagon now. There's room on the
Be
bandwagon. for you.
bi-coastal. There's nothing wrong with being bi-coastal.
Hey, I have the most cliche professional teams that I like. You know, it's so cliche. It's like, why? Why do you like them?
I like the Lakers too, by the way. That's my West team generally, but yeah, because Kobe, you know.
Of course.
Yeah,
that's
of
the way
course.
it goes.
Of course.
So before we get to question specific, do you have any comments about the stuff that we talked about during the beginning of the show, or anything? You're in the background. You wanted to raise your hand and chime in, or we can move on.
It was so hilarious. I was watching the Lego bit there. That was so funny. I was like, oh my god, that is stupidly funny.
Yes, exactly. That's our goal.
Stupidly funny, funnily stupid. That's that's how we roll. Now you've got a lot of things that you want to talk about. So where do you want to start?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. My name is DJ Two Bears. I am from North Dakota here, born and raised, and I'd like to thank Stephanie for inviting me on. Actually, I got a chance to get to know Stephanie at a salon that we put on in New York City, maybe like about a month and a half ago, I would say.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we put on a salon there, and it's kind of a fundraising event for this big giant event that we have and we're doing here on Standing Rock called People of the Sun. And People of the Sun is it's more of an experience. You know, I had some, funders and people, like Woodstock. I'm like, no, not like Woodstock, completely different. And other ones are like, kind of like Burning Man. I'm like, no, not like Burning Man. I'm like, this is its own unique type of event that we're putting on here on Standing Rock, and it's almost going to be one of a first of its kind, specifically because of the nature of how we're bringing people together. We're bringing, thought leaders, government officials, celebrities, native tribal representation from grassroots to tribal governances to, dancers, performers, and singers. We have this whole big giant full package that we're putting together. That's going to be September, let's see here. September 16th, 17th, and 18th. And so there's, it's going to be an amazing event, things that are going to be happening. But yeah, so that's how I got to know Stephanie. And we were in a great group of amazing people and amazing salon of like, oh my God, these people are amazing people. I'm so thankful for that. And so when I got to know her, she's like, you need to come on the podcast. I'm like, of course. I was like, I'm definitely going to make time. So but yeah, People of the Sun is very unique. It's kind of a slightly a 10-year anniversary of the Standing Rock, protest, the movement that happened there 10 years ago. Actually, the first day that it happened was in April. So, yeah, so that's kind of how it led me to the podcast. And yes, I have so much to talk about and so many different things. Yes.
We can talk about this now or kind of get to it in a little bit. One of the things that you spoke about with me at that event that just completely blew my mind was that because Minneapolis was more right there present, right? So we had just lost both of those folks, and there was all these tragedies going on, and the people of Minneapolis were being as activists. There were activists at this salon as well, and this is Standing Rock is, I would say, it's art as activism as well, of what you're putting on. But we so admired the people of Minnesota and how they were able to remain peaceful and unite themselves around their neighbors and their community to, in the face of this brutalization by ICE. And you had said to me, that particular area in Minneapolis has a very significant percentage of residents who are indigenous, who are First Nations people. So talk a little bit about that, because I think that's for people to kind of get this information in their head of how silent it all is around this and other things happening for tribes and for First Nations people, because we're not able to get information out of the administration as it is for there to be reporting on actually what's been happening.
Yeah, so that was a crazy time and a crazy moment for a lot of people, what was happening in Southside Minneapolis there. But I'm going to take it back a little bit further, as we're talking about DHS and we're talking about Kristi Noem. So what a lot of people don't realize, and it's not too much in the news, is Kristi Noem was actually the governor of South Dakota, but she also was banned from all the tribes in South Dakota and Standing Rock. Right, Standing Rock straddles, North Dakota and South Dakota, so it's in both states. But she was banned. They said, no, you're not welcome here. You're not ever to come on a reservation. Nothing.
She was 86th.
Yeah, 86th. Basically 86th off of all the reservations, and like you can't come here, and specifically because of a lot of the legislation and the bills that she was passing in the state of South Dakota against the tribes. And she was, calling a lot of the tribes saying like, oh, a lot of the tribal leaders are working with some of these drug cartels to sell drugs and have a big giant drug mafia on your reservation. And, a lot of you guys are on drugs, things like that. I'm like, are you insane? Like, do you think any tribe is going to work with any drug lord? Right. And so she was like trying to clean up, saying she's cleaning up the reservations from all of these illegal drug activities, which weren't happening, by the way, just to be very honest and clear. And so when Trump brought her on, she was a little quote that hasn't went public. She's like, I am going to make sure I get each and every one of you, right? Speaking of Native American tribes, Native American people, right? And so because of how much she had to deal, with all the things that, the politicalness that she has to work with tribes, and she clearly didn't want to in South Dakota.
She didn't want to honor your rights, your land,
nothing, because we are our own sovereign nation within a nation, right? We have our own laws, we have our own constitution, we have our own everything. And she just didn't want to work with us, and she wanted to, label us as not good people. And so when she got into the DHS there, she was like already to target indigenous people. And so Southside Minneapolis is one of the major hubs for where indigenous people live. 45% of the population in Southside Minneapolis. There's also a small community which is slightly funded by different tribes, and it's, the land bases within the tribes and things like that. They're Native Americans. They have their own communities set up. They have their own Native American center. Right. And then you also have the other small population of our big population would be like 30% of Somalians. So I'm thinking to myself, if you're there in Southside Minneapolis to find illegal immigrants and you're really not, you're detaining Native Americans. You're detaining a lot of Native Americans, which they are labeling, illegal aliens from another country or however they want to label it. But a lot of these people have been detained or been profiled were Native Americans. So I'm like, where's the population of, Mexican Americans are, people from Mexico? Where's that population at? It's not a very, very, very big population in Southside Minneapolis, because 45% of that population is Native American. And so the tricky thing that I was working on was a lot of Native Americans may not have their tribal enrollment card, their identification, just like in every state you have your ID, right? That identifies you a citizen of that state and everything that goes along with it. But in the Native community, we also have IDs that identify our enrollment number, that we are a enrolled member of this certain tribe, right? So there's many different tribes that are there on the south side of Minneapolis that didn't have their tribal enrollment ID. And then in certain states, they allow that tribal ID to be just as valid as a passport or just as valid as their state ID identification, right? And so what was happening is they didn't have that. And so me and some other friends, we were working with multiple different tribes and different entities to try to help them get their tribal enrollment ID, because it costs a lot of money, just to get their tribal IDs or get these people their proper identification. So there's like this whole slew of things that were happening. And then the issue that was happening too, the media wasn't talking about it in that sense. They were forgetting that these were Native American people. And so when the Guardian, excuse me if I'm saying their names, but the Guardian,
Okay.
did an article, and then they reached out to a group of us, and I was just like, this is what's happening. Boom, 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 boom. I told them the exact truth, everything that the tribe could be relating and saying the same thing. Like, these are our tribal enrolled members, right? But they, after the article and everything was put together, they're like, oh, we got a fact check. I'm like, okay, great. Fact checked it. I'm like, well, who are you going to reach out for fact checking? Like, oh, well, we want to make sure we're reaching out to the federal government, making sure everything about Christy Nome, who they're detaining. I'm like, are you really going to, I was like, I don't think DHS themselves know who they're detaining. I don't even think they can differentiate between a Mexican or a Native American, or even Somalian at that moment, right? So they don't know who they're really detaining and what citizenship they really do have. So it's just like, you're going to reach out for a fact check to seeing if this is accurate. I was like, that's the issue. We can't get proper media. We can't get proper information out if you want to fact check to the wrong people,
Right.
So
we don't have shared facts anymore.
Yeah, we don't have shared facts,
Yeah.
So.
Oh God. All right. So that was, so everybody knows, that was sort of I was like, you got to come on. You got to come on.
Yeah.
Because, and I know there's so much more too with what Indigenous people are facing with this administration and what's been happening. So tell us more about from Standing Rock, from that sort of perspective of maybe just working backwards a little bit of why you're building what you're building with the folks that have come together for Salon, and where this is all headed, what precedes all of that.
Yes. So with the Salon event, it was just kind of to help bring people together to awareness of the event that we're going to be putting together called People. This is going to be so magical, so amazing. It is going to be taking place as a slight celebration of the 10-year anniversary of Dakota Access Pipeline, right? And the movement that happened on Standing Rock that kind of shocked the world, right? And so that was one of the biggest Indigenous movements we've had in a very long time, so that the cool part about that was it was all Indigenous and native led by prayer, right? And even in the midst of being shot by everything, cannons and the whole works, like a military warfare was happening there against us, and we still remained in prayer. We didn't fight back as they wanted us to, right? And so one of the things that came out of that was an amazing organization called Indigenized Energy, and my brother at that time was the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe councilman for Cannonball, where the movement happened, right? So he was, kind of the community leader and the leader of that time and that era. And also our tribal chairman at that time was Dave Archambault. And so Dave Archambault, he was, I used to work under his administration, a great leader, an amazing guy. But what came out, one of the amazing things that came out of that movement was Indigenized Energy, created by my brother, right? And so they were doing amazing work, and Indigenized Energy is one of those things that sprung out of there specifically because renewable energy, tribal people want solar. They want renewable energy in their community because they are they're one of the very first environmentalists that we have in this world, right? Through prayer, our way of life, our ceremonies and things of that nature. We've always wanted to protect Earth. We always want to make sure we're doing everything we can for Earth. And so Indigenized Energy was doing amazing work. They started a coalition of 14 different tribes, which sprung from when Biden's administration was in there. They created this big giant project called Solar for All. And so Indigenized Energy was one of those recipients to receive $136 million. And so when they started that coalition with those 14 tribes, they start getting everything ready. Boom, 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 boom. Start to build out solar, getting all the programs ready for all these 14.
You have your own energy company.
We have our own everything.
Yeah.
Our own everything. And it's just and then when the new administration comes in here with Trump, he gets rid of all of it. Took back every single one of the dollars for Solar for All. Anything in renewable clean energy was taken from them on the tribal sector. And so that was okay, that left a lot of these tribes in square one. But all of them were like, okay, we're back to square one. But we're going to continue this fight, and we're going to continue to fight for clean energy. We're going to continue with these projects, even if we have to work harder and smarter and better than ever we did before. And now there's still projects that are coming off of that coalition, which is amazing, right?
Yeah.
Even without that type of funding. So it's super cool. But the reason why Cody started Indigenize Energy, my brother, is because the electric bills there on Standing Rock were outrageous.
Right.
And so the thing of it is like every reservation has a boundary, right? A boundary. And then so our local co-op that we have for our electric co-op, they service on the reservation and they service off the reservation. So even if they're a mile off the reservation, those guys were only paying 7 cents per kilowatt hour, which is like, okay, what does that even mean, right? But they do pay 7% or 7 cents per kilowatt hour. But if you live a mile down on the reservation, you're paying 14 cents per kilowatt hour.
Oh, God.
And then imagine this, living in a HUD home, a governmental housing, which has no installation in the middle of North Dakota in the winter, you're literally paying $350 to, $400 a month just for electricity. That's not even including your propane bill. So it's like, hey, this is like what is going on here? Like,
Right.
How are we being targeted by our local electric co-op? And Standing Rock and the reservations, that's just not happening there. It's happening to a lot of tribal sectors in the United States. And so in order to combat that, let's get everyone solar. Let's build out solar farms. Let's put solar on homes to offset the cost so we can put more money into the pockets of these families and these people. And they were building out, amazing things. And so the government, the federal government, who was selecting Solar for All, they're like, we've been waiting for a company like this, like Indigenize Energy, because this is the one that makes the most sense. So they're a $136 million company in the eyes of the federal government at that time, because that's how successful in the programming and what they were doing. And then that was slashed and cut. So that was something that was amazing that came out of the movement of Standing Rock there. So I was so proud of that. And I was happy for my brother that they can provide these service to indigenous people and their tribes and their communities, here in the Midwest. So yeah, it was so awesome. Sorry, I'm a rambler.
No, you're not. You're
We like-
you're
we
not.
like
We
the
it
rambling.
Here. That's our platform here. So where does that stand now? Are they
I was just going to say.
still fighting? They're trying to bring together the funds necessary to continue it. Do they have? Isn't there an example where there is at least one reservation, if not several, that are energy independent, that do have their own, that were sort of able to succeed, or no? Did it all get its legs cut out from underneath?
So it all got cut out underneath them. So
Darn.
each one of those 14 different reservations who were a part of that coalition, 4 different reservations,
Yeah.
4 different sovereign countries. For the listeners, it's it's kind of tricky to understand. What does he mean by 4 different reservations or sovereign nations? So there's like 4 different places like Standing Rock or Pine Ridge or all these different reservations. So each one of them, they had to design and create how that programming and how that organization is going to work for their tribe, whether it be solar on solar farms or solar on not so much wind. Some of them were interested in wind, but sometimes we can put the solar on the home, but sometimes if it's a HUD home, that's a whole different story because you have HUD regulations. So every reservation was designed completely different.
Okay.
Some wanted to do their own utility, some wanted to do their own co-op, some wanted to do, so everyone was designated and to do it differently, right? And so but those 14 tribes continue to say, no, we're going to continue forward with or without the $36 million. So Indigenize Energy is continuing to work and to help build and to help raise money to make those projects happen. And so that's why, a big giant event like People of the Sun will bring that philanthropy money in, will bring government officials in to like collaborate and to talk about something like this. But even right now in this day and age, philanthropy money right now is super hard to come by is because philanthropists are truly scared to give because they're afraid of the backlash. Corporations are afraid to give because they're afraid of the backlash. What can happen to their business? And I understand and I get it. It's sad that it has to be like that, but they are afraid to give because of the political backlash. So it's making it tough on all fronts, you know, not just the native front, but philanthropy across as a whole. So,
but and it's not just the energy thing that the Trump government is screwing the reservations out of. It's also the education system, as you were discussing before.
Yeah, and it's crazy.
Talk a little bit about that. So let everybody know what you know. We've got Department of the Interior, we've got Department of Education, we've got all of these things, and reservations and First Nations fall under Department of Interior, right? Where it comes,
which falls under Bureau of Indian Affairs and Bureau of Bureau of Indian Education.
Yep. So Bureau of Indian Affairs falls under the Department of Interior, right? And so and BIE falls under Department of the BIA, right? So there's like these chain of command. So the BIE, the Bureau of Indian Education. So what's happening there? It's a little tricky. So last year in 2026, they were cut at 65% of all their federal funding, right? And so that carries over to trying to figure out what they're going to do this year with this year's funding. And so we have and this is just for the elementaries and the high schools, mind you. And so they were cut 65%. And so a lot of these schools are trying to figure out how to keep their schools open. You know, we even got I've been talking to different schools and different reservations, and they're even saying we have kids trying to raise money to pay their teachers to keep them for teaching, you know, to keep them there. So now they're going to have to figure out a strategy whether to keep open or if they got to bus these students to a school that could be 60 miles away just to get their education or to do online education with some other school, right? So it's super tough right now with all these cuts. And so now with the new Congress and things that are happening, even more is possibly going to be cut, right? So even with the TCU, which is the Tribal College University, they were already cut, I believe it was 45% last year, right? And now Trump is proposing and wants to, and he is going to cut them by 90% as a whole.
Oh, God.
So now we have tribal colleges who are now like meeting in like New York City to try to figure out how to strategize to keep their colleges open, you know, these tribal colleges. So, you know, it's such a tough situation. And so a lot of people are like, well, why isn't this in the news? It's just like, well, why isn't the truth about anything he does in the news, right? And so, but at the same time, you know, indigenous and native communities are always on the back burner when it comes to a lot of situations, right? And so I can talk on and on about, you know, the poverty standpoint of why we're so-called in poverty, you know, the colonization, all these different things that leads up to this point, right? But yeah, so we have so many cuts that are happening and we're, you know, so short on funding as it is, you know, and there's like Indian Health Service, we have housing, we have land buyback, we have all these different issues and everything's being cut at a mass rate. And so now this is why an organization and like indigenized energy is important, so we can bring energy and cut costs somewhere, you know.
And it's not as if you're not innovators for your own people. So you have the innovation, you have the plans, you know, it's literally just a choke point of resources because it's not like other things where, well, we've got to figure out what we're going to do. It's like, no. You know what to do. You know where it needs to go. You know, it just, when it's cut off, you know, they want to bring the pipelines in and bring all the poison in the water, but a pipeline of actual resources that can come in would go exactly where it needs to go. It's not like it's beset with, you know, you're talking about communities that are confused over what to do with resources, right? Or don't have a plan. So that's also, to me, one of the most frustrating parts of it is you could actually immediately see a return, a good return, a proper accounting for and having everybody and lifting the community as a whole, which lifts everybody.
Yeah, and so that's what I've been plucking away on so much, because I'm a creative director and I work in music, fashion, and art, and a lot of those things on why I do it. I don't know how to make music, for one, right? So I have great, amazing people like Pharrell Williams, who is the iconic, amazing person he is. He's a great human being. I was like, okay, this is what I want to hear. This is what we should be doing, and this is how we should angle the music, and blah 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 blah. So I've got a chance to work with multiple different artists, but the only reason why I love to do it that way is because I want to give Native people a platform to be proud of. And it's not for me, it's Native people to be proud of. Working with Louis Vuitton and all these, I'm like, this is a platform for Native to be seen and heard, like doing all these things. It's never for me. I'm a very, very behind the scenes person, not trying to sound extra unhumble, but I worked on so much behind the scenes because I was like, this is for the Native community, for us to be seen so we can provide funding or to be seen in a light where like, oh, these Native people are important. That's what it was really intended for, and so, yeah, we're just, I'm plucking away. And now this current administration, we're in, along with all of any other communities, we're in dire strait of need of, some kind of support. It's just, it's crazy because they need to fund the war. So they cut off a lot of money. We need to fund the ballroom and we need to cut off a lot of money. Like, it's like, where does this
fund
money
themselves,
really go?
apparently.
So it's nuts.
I mean, eating all the king crab that Pete Hegseth is eating that costs a lot of money. No, but seriously, Trump is a president that came into the White House and immediately hung up a picture of Andrew Jackson, which tells you all you need to know about the his policy and attitude towards Native Americans. Butcher,
Well, he got one of the first times he ever was in front of, I think it was this Congress, not the Senate, in the House of Rep. One of the chambers was in 1990s, early 1990s, with Roy Cohn had written and Roger Stone, Paul Manafort. It was Paul Manafort that wrote him his speech, paid for by his father, to go in and fight for the casinos because he wanted the casino properties, and was incredible. There's all online. You can go on YouTube and see exactly who he was and has always been. But he does have a very particular grievance. God knows where it comes from. I have my own theories with Native communities. So it's tough. It's tough for you guys and for us all. Yeah.
Even down to like housing, housing, we're already cut through the, BIA, where we were cut last year and they were operating on $1.3 billion. It sounds like a lot, but to service 500 and some communities in the native sector here in the United States, it's not that much, right? And now they're going to cut it even more by $289 million in 2027. So now they're cutting that 1.3 and almost, by a lot again. And then in the CDFI sector, they're going to be cutting $290 million. So now people who can afford to have a home, to build a home, they can't even get a loan through a CDFI because that's going to be even cut by $291 million. So it's like even the home, the housing sector that's going to be cut. It's just like, oh my God, what's going to happen? It's a tough situation all the way around, from Indian Health Service, just everything that's been cut. And we're not the only ones as people, but the issue is you can't find this and no one's talking about it. And we're in the heart of the United States of America, and we're like one of the most important and ethnic indigenous people to the United States government. Why? Is because we have the land, we have all the resources, we have everything that the federal government needs, right? That's why they want to come to Standing Rock and drill, right? They want to drill to build pipelines and all through these different places. They want to come after our minerals because we have the land. So we're so important to them that they want to still single us out, to cut us out, and to try to get us off these reservations, to get us off our homelands, so they can occupy and get the resources they need. But, there's just no one who really talks about it. And it's a tough situation, so.
Well, I'm glad you're talking about it. And we'll
Of course.
keep talking about it. We'll keep talking about it. Is there something else you wanted to circle back to with the People of the Sun?
Yes.
Yes.
So People of the Sun is People of the Sun, that's what this is all about. So when everyone asks, what is People of the Sun? This is it. Everything that we've talked about is what's going to be happening at People of the Sun. But also it's because we have such an amazing way of life. And I'm gonna go off on a tangent, but I don't really like to call us a culture, because we're not a culture, right? We're a way of life. So when we start using the word culture, you're limiting yourself to like, oh, that's a cult, or you're following something. Like, no, this is a way of life. We've adapted to how Mother Earth adapted to her own self, right? If things changed on Mother Earth, we've changed as human beings. And even to this day, we have to change how we live on Mother Earth, because Mother Earth's going to naturally heal herself or go through a hard time. So we as humans have to change the way we live. But if we're such a cultivated into a culture, then the learning, the spirituality, our way of life stops, because you've stopped living and putting yourself into a cult society, a way of thinking, right? So sorry I went off on that little rant, but
No, I love that.
No, that's
love that. Yeah.
And so you have to like really put that into perspective on how we live on Mother Earth, right? And so that's what us as a Native American indigenous people are, and that's what People of the Sun is to bring all the things to light that are happening in this current state of mind. Philanthropists, it's so hard to raise money. So that's why we're bringing these Native artists, non-Native artists, celebrities all coming, so we can talk about these things, so we can have another moment like 2016. 2016. What's the cool part of what happened on Standing Rock, and this is something a lot of people don't know, is when we were when all this was going down, I used to work in the Tribal Historic Preservation Office at that time when this pipeline was proposed, right? And Standing Rock did everything they did. There's a whole process under NAGPRA that you're supposed to follow, that the federal government wasn't following, that
the governor.
Nobody was following, right? Yeah. Nobody was following. Standing Rock followed it to the T. We provided our comments, right? We had public hearings, we did everything. But then, energy transfer and all these different companies like, nope, you guys didn't follow. Like, yes, we did. Here's the emails, here's everything. And so they went through with everything. And so once that was going to happen, once they were going to start to drill no matter what, and then the chairman at that time, Chairman Dave, this is how, it really started, is he came up to me and another relative of ours, and he was just like, we only have $50,000, DJ. He's like, we need to bring awareness around what's happening with this. I'm like, all right, and my other relative was like, well, we should do traditional PR work, put it out into the thing and use this money to put PR. I was just like, no. I was like, we have to create a new wave of how we're going to bring awareness to this. I was like, we can't just do traditional PR. And so I was like, well, let's just split the money. You take this amount of money, I'll take this amount of money, and I can raise the rest to help build this campaign. So the very first campaign that was ever built to bring awareness was called Respect Our Water, REZ, Spect Our Water.
Yeah.
So that was the very first campaign. And, a person like Shailene Woodley was like, jumped all over. She's like, of course. She's like, we need to like fight. We need to push. And then, a group of another friends of ours were like, we had celebrity allies and people kept pushing it out there to create, more of a social media marketing approach rather than a traditional marketing approach. And so we kept doing it. And then my grandma, her name is LaDonna Bravo Ellard, we put up the very first teepee on her land at which now became Sacred Stone, and that teepee was put up by myself, Shailene Woodley, and Miles Ellard. And then they started the fire. We have elders like Mr. Taken Alive and his wife, and there was a group of elders who started that fire, and they kept that fire going from the beginning to the end of the movement. And so that was the very first time the camp actually started, was on my grandma's land. Shailene Woodley was the very first. It was a powerful moment. And Shailene was like right there from the beginning to the end. And she was just like, start working. We start bringing these youth and these young people involved. And they were like, let's run to Washington, D.C. Let's make this happen. So Shailene fought hard to get funding to make that happen. Then we were all working hard to get funding so they could run to DC, and Shailene was running right with them. So those were the moments and the very, very start of Standing Rock that people don't know. That's how it really started. And this is honestly the very first time I've ever told that story and ever put that out into the public knowledge of, because so many people wanted to know how it's been done. And this is the first time I'm ever talking about it. So that's exactly how it was done, And so at that time, the chairman believed in our vision to put it out there. My brother was tribal council leader and community of all that. And everything just grew and grew and grew and became the monumental thing. Everything else was history. So
amazing. Thank you for telling us.
Yeah, no,
that's amazing.
So where is the people that said, where is it happening? It's happening in September, but where?
Yeah, it's going to be happening here on Standing Rock at the Prairie Nights Casino. Yep. And that's going to be happening. And so, to be very honest, it's going to be in a very exciting event. We have so many excited, people with platforms. I say people with platforms because there's, philanthropists and celebrity, everybody. So many excited people with platforms who believe in this and are going to make this happen and help make it happen. And we want to make sure that, we're accommodating everything as best as we can. So, but it is on Standing Rock. It's going to be 3-4 miles away from, where the movement happened. And we're also going to be utilizing a nonprofit organization called WOZU, which is doing amazing things, by the way. And they were another organization that popped off of after Standing Rock. And so doing amazing work there. So it's going to be a great time, a lot of good things, education, great artists, like JR, great artists, different people who are coming. I don't want to spoil all the surprise.
Don't spoil it all.
But
I just wanted to know where it was.
Yes, amazing people who are
coming. And you're going to keep posting about it on your social media, right?
Correct. And we also have a website called peopleofthesun.live. So that's what it is. So peopleofthesun.live is where the website, you can find it. So we do have, some celebrities on there who, like Mark Ruffalo, who's going to be attendant, Shailene Woodley, so those people have already made their announcements and other ones. So it is peopleofthesun.live, and you can find all the information on there and sign up for the newsletter, because we're going to be making a lot of announcements, ticket announcements and everything very, very soon. So
there it is.
Excellent.
Yes. Yep.
Nice.
So we're going to move now into the back into the timer format. Can you stick around, or do you have to go?
Of course. No, I'll definitely stick around. If you guys can put up with me for this long.
Oh, no, you're doing amazing.
Happy. Yeah.
This is great. Okay. So we're going to put the timer on so we don't, but if we go over, we go over.
Yeah, no problem.
Because it's kind of hard to talk about these guys. So this is, I kind of teased this earlier up front, but it just it's worth talking about the unbelievable grift going on with this administration and the sons, his actual sons. So we haven't focused on them too much before on the show. We've talked a lot about Jared Kushner. We've talked a lot about Donald himself and kind of the people in the administration. But Don Jr. and Eric have been kind of doing the Trump org model of, all of a sudden they're not real estate anymore, but instead of doing steaks or Trump vodka or Trump University, they're doing crypto companies and big billions of dollars, right? I think Eric made $1 billion.
Eric is a billionaire.
He's a billionaire now from the crypto company. It's American Bitcoin, and then there's another one, and
Liberty something,
World Liberty something. But what's happened, and they just launched these things because now they're crypto people, and now they're into drones. Lo and behold, they have these drone companies that are getting the government contracts for the wars. Oh, good, there's a war. We have just happen to have this brand new drone company, and so they sit on the board of this drone company, and that's going through. We also know the poly market stuff. We don't know who's placing the bets on poly market for the administration's every move, but whoever that is making a fortune. So it just feels like, and Trump kind of put it himself into these words of like, well, the world's a casino. What are you going to do? He literally said those words. So it's just really about rigged slot machines in the house always winning. But the only people allowed to go in and pull on the rigged slot machines are his kids or people associated with the administration or somehow in his family. That's what America is right now inside of Washington. So I just found it, I don't know. It was just sort of time to talk about it. I don't know how you guys feel about this. All of a sudden we have this weird monarchy, but not, I don't know what's happening. Other than it's just a corrupt family business. Like we have a crime family going on.
I'm hoping that it just fails, like a lot of the things that they do, because I mean, the whole thing with crypto, it doesn't make sense to me, because prior to the formation of the Federal Reserve in 1990, whatever year it was, in the 100 years ago, over 100 years ago, there were runs on banks, and banks failed all the time. There were panics. There was the panic of 1890, whatever, and the panic of 1900. I have a book that's called The Panic of 1907 on the shelf behind me. And then, people would lose their life savings because the bank would fail and all their money would be gone. And this happened like all the time, with alarming frequency. And then it wasn't the people coming out of the grassroots thing saying, it wasn't like in It's a Wonderful Life. It wasn't George Bailey saying, we must protect it was like the Mr. Potters of the world were like, this is too volatile. We can't have this. The bankers, they're the ones that formed the Fed, and there's a lot of stupid Ron Paul conspiracy stuff. But the reality is that once the Fed was established, runs on banks stopped, and banks stopped failing for the most part. And if they did fail because of the FDIC, people didn't lose their life savings.
Right.
So we have a system in the United States where this extremely powerful and wealthy government backs our currency and backs our bank accounts. So why in the ever living fuck would someone want to not have regulations that protect their money? Like, you're putting all your money, it's not even dollars in paper. It's a couple of blips on a computer screen that, it's the blockchain. What was that Andrew Yang guy? Remember blockchain? It was all, I haven't heard from him in a while.
Yeah.
One electromagnetic blip, this whole thing is gone. Like, what are you going to do? And then there's nothing stopping in this new system from the everything to be exploited, and people who have more Bitcoin to exploit it. And what can you do about it? What can you do about it if you're locked out of your Bitcoin? You're just fucked. You can't go to the government. Government doesn't regulate it because that's what these people like about it for some reason. I mean, the only reason they want crypto, as I understand it, is because it's a way for mobsters to pay other mobsters. So normal people should not want to be involved with this. I don't get it.
With these companies, they've lost. Normal people have lost one of them. They've lost 92% of when it went since it launched. So people who bought in from the beginning lost 92% of their money, right? For where the price is now. What do you think, DJ? What do you think of all this? These kids? I don't know.
I really have no comment, to be very honest with you. It's sometimes I'm just like, I don't know, the thought process on how some of these young people think of those things and what they're really, really trying to accomplish. And they don't really understand how they're going to affect the future generations of their decisions of greed right now. It's really going to affect the long-term situation of, the future generations, but they don't think like that, because a lot of these young people, as I was joking earlier, it's just like their frontal lobes are not always fully developed. So it's like one of those things where they're thinking of the now and they're not really thinking of the future and how it could affect our future generations in such a harmful way.
I don't know that Eric and Don Jr., that Uday and Kusei's frontal lobes will ever be fully developed. I think I think that's a lost cause. But the other piece we wanted to talk about in this segment, which we call casino, because it's about also this predictive market. It's like there's the poly market, which is just everybody can insider trade.
Yeah.
Unless you're a soldier, then you're not allowed to. Then you get indicted. But if you're not a Trump crony, but there's so much gambling going on right now in the culture. I mean, with sports, like you cannot sit down and watch a game for basketball. And I don't really watch any baseball, but I'm sure it's similar. There's these huge conglomerate corporations that run sports gambling, that they've made it very, very easy to do online. And they market it all the time. They market it during the games. There's every 1 out of every 3 commercials is for either FanDuel or what's the DraftKings or the MGM. There's like 5 different companies. They all are tripping over themselves to hire the coolest people to do the ads, and they make it look really cool, and then kids can get on these apps and do it. And it's like, you can't have a fucking commercial for really good whiskey on a Sunday afternoon at the ball game, but you can have the announcers at the game talking about the lines and this and that. It's the way that this is seeped into the culture is very, very dangerous, I think. And gambling is just a road to perdition. There's just no good that's going to come out of this. You've got a lot of, of all the other ways that they're stealing our money. They're stealing our money by raising the energy costs and cutting funding for this and that. And all the money that's left over, people are going to gamble away. And that's the second piece of this. And I just want to, we've talked about it a little bit before, but it's the pervasiveness of it is drastic. Now you have NBA players and other athletes getting indicted for being participants. And what's eventually going to happen is there's already threats to people who are athletes. So, I bet on you to score 15 points and you suck.
Oh yeah, I saw some
This
of that.
is a real thing where people
Have you seen that, DJ?
Yes, I've seen that a lot. So that's the thing, is I've seen so many athletes, who have taken money, gambling money, and that hasn't been caught, and that's the sad part, is I think there should be more regulations around that, because it takes away from, the fun of the sporting event. Professional sports is such like one of those things where it's a big gamble all the way around. The organization's betting on, I'm paying this player this much, right, to perform so well that, I need him to help win a championship. And then also like this player's taking money on the side to lose games or to win games, But then we also have to look at, where DraftKings and all these people, who are their investors, right? Because the marketing is so good. But who are these investors and where's this money going? Because obviously DraftKings is just, the front, but there has to be investors. Who are these investors that are making majority of the money and where it's going? And it's people that we probably well known, like, I knew you were probably behind this and investing in DraftKings, and you're making all this money because they have so much money for, great marketing, so it's like, where's this money really going and who is it really going to? But, it's not going to the ballroom because they're asking for a lot of money.
It's not going to the ballroom. That's going to come out of our tax dollars.
If they had a ballroom, they wouldn't need any of the gambling.
That's right. If they had the ballroom, they would, it would take away all the concern. All right, guys, let's move on. Do we have this is where we do announcements, DJ. So you've got your announcements of what's coming up. Let's put that on the screen again. I'm going to try to find it, the link, so people can see where to go.
Yeah. You're getting a lot of really nice comments, by the way.
Yeah, you are. I don't know if you can go to the comments of there and kind of scroll through. It's neat. There we go. People of the Sun. Here we go. Got it. All right. So we've got that. People of the Sun Live. it's what's coming up creatively for you. Do you have anything you can tease or talk about?
Well, yes and no.
Okay, well,
So I
don't
won't
say anything you're not
name the
supposed to say.
I won't name the organization, but I'm working on an amazing deal with a shoe company, out of Europe, which is I'm super excited about, specifically because I'm very passionate about indigenous ways of life and indigenous
Yes.
culture and all these things. I've had past collaborations with, Adidas and Pharrell with Human Race. I've created a lot of things with him and, Louis Vuitton and all these things. But I'm super excited about this new upcoming collaboration that I'm having with this company. And we're also building out a People of the Sun shoe with
how
this.
cool.
So it's going to be a super collaborative effort, and it's going to have an amazing. Once they come out, I'm not going to give it away, but it's super exciting because it's very Native American inspired. But I do have a big collaboration that's coming out, and also I did a movie. Yeah, and then also I have a movie out now that's called. It's about Sitting Bull, who's an iconic legend. So
Yes.
I just did a film with Leonardo DiCaprio. We were both executive producers on this, which was aired on the History Channel, but it's like the number 3 watched movie on Netflix, so it's doing really, really well. So go watch that, Sitting Bull. It's the docuseries. It's amazing, and I'm also working on another film. So
exciting!
I'm super excited about those things.
Come back when you're ready to talk about that.
Of course.
Hear all about that. Yeah. All right. Anything, Greg? We have anything? We do like next Friday, a week from today is.
It is 5/8.
It's 5/8.
Yeah. I don't know what we're doing yet.
5/8 will be on May 8th, 5/8. We don't know what we're doing. We're doing something. We'll figure it all out. But
we'll
just
figure it
remember,
all
everybody.
out. We'll do something special.
The standard, like, subscribe, do all of the things with the YouTube thing that you're supposed to be doing, everybody. I know we're terrible at reminding ourselves. I want to jump into this last segment. DJ, stick around with us because we try to end with something light, because these are heavy things that we talk about, even though we're trying to make it all really accessible and relatable and not so depressing. But in these, kind of dark times that we're living through, finding stuff that inspires us. So one of the things that I said, and you and I had a little discussion about this right before we came on air, but one of the things I said early on my Twitter account, when it was just a smallish account, and then it went viral. It was one of my first sort of viral tweets. It was just a simple little thing. Back when we could only do a sentence.
And that's very small. Yeah. You had to do
it was like we didn't have things, right? And I said, right after Donald got into office the first time, I said, the artists will save us. And I meant it. And I meant it in the sense, and it went crazy because I connected for people some way. And what I mean was what I saw with that self-inflicted wound of electing this person was sort of a loss of our humanity and us losing touch with what it is to be a human being and to be in shared space with other human beings, the human experience. And so for me, artists are the sacred stewards of the human experience. And so looking at art, I think there really was a time, even we've had these sort of dry spells within this last 10 years of art. It's almost like the artist, maybe the struggle, maybe things were hard, couldn't find their voice. And then we've had these moments of great pieces of art popping up, right? And not just art that reflects the moment, but also maybe gives us a safe space to experience the human condition in a way that is around things that maybe we're pushing away. So there's some art that came out just this last week that I wanted to show and then just talk about. But do you have anything to say about what I just said there? Because we were talking before and we started having a discussion. I'm like, wait, let's save this for when we're on air. Let's save this for your life.
Being a creative director and a person who's, a fan of, art and artists and things like that. And there's so many different deliberations on how we see art as human beings. One piece of art, 1,000 people can interpret it in their own way, and also that's a great dialogue to help heal themselves or to see themselves in that. And so I'm such a fan of art as a whole. Because I used to work with an amazing artist by the name of JR. So I used to do, long time ago in the streets, and we used to wheat paste up, and there was a great meaning behind that, is because of the indigenous or the things that were happening in those communities that were injustice to that communities. We would take people's eyes and paste them up and let them tell their story on why we're pasting up, right? And so that creates like movement and healing, and now it's one of the biggest street art movements in the world, JR and what we created. I was there long before it became this big movement. So I'm a big lover of art and what it can do. And plus our own indigenous Native American art could change the way we think and see the world. And as I was talking earlier, I was just like, man, art and artist can overshadow any political or any kind of, negative movement that we have in this world. Music, art, and everything is so powerful. It could change not the world as a whole, but it can change the way we think and how we adapt ourselves to how we walk on earth. It's such a beautiful thing. Such a beautiful thing.
Well, so here's some of it that came out. Let's see. There's a little. Can we play some of it? We can't play because we don't want the episode to get taken down. Yeah. But we can play like a little bit. So, what was the? And I didn't write it down. So there was a new Banksy sculpture unveiled just like 2 days ago or a couple days ago.
This is a video.
Here's a video of it.
I don't like it. That's a nice statue up there. I prefer that.
Yeah. Amazing.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
So I think it's called Patriotic Man or something. He's like stepping off, right? About to fall, but he can't see it because he's marching with his flag, but the flag is obscuring his vision. And I just thought, wow, that's such a simple, elegant concept. So beautifully executed.
And I love that. And I love that, when people get a chance to walk by that's, democracy at its finest. It's like some people will love it and some people will hate it, right? And sometimes we're getting into the voice of our own country where we may not have a democratical process, right? So it's just getting so crazy. So the thing of it is art can bring that conversation and be like, I don't like it, but these people love it. Like that's, democracy at its finest. And I love it. I love that.
I love it so much. So, Greg, what did you think of that one?
I thought it was notable that it's a man and not a woman. I think that's the first thing. And a man in a suit,
Yeah.
And the flag it's a black flag. I mean, I know it's maybe not supposed to be, but it is. So it's a piratical, evil kind of thing that this man is stepping off his pedestal and about to fall into the abyss.
Yeah.
Blinded
by it.
Blinded by the patriotic or what he thinks is patriotic and is not actually patriotic. So
amazing. Okay. So this next thing, and this is the one we can't play too much of because we're going to get shut up. I don't know if you've seen this. It's the music video just dropped, and there's a longer version of it, but the part where the dance happens is incredible. It's Swedish rapper Young Leon and Generation with the 8 as part of the Generation. And it's the choreographer is Damien Jallet, who's that French choreographer that's just, oh my God, he's amazing. If you have never seen any Damien Jallet, everybody should just Jallet, go on YouTube, type in his name, and see his dance. He's just a once in a lifetime choreographer. Really, really, really extraordinary. So I don't know. We'll play it. We can't play too much.
We'll play it for a few minutes.
Play it for a few minutes.
We'll play
So
it for
we
30
get some of
seconds.
the
Just so you
dancing.
get the sense. You get the sense. Okay, here we go.
Like an empty fire, like your desire, like an empty fire. Stand tall, go higher, and on and on and on and on. I say, we stand united through the storm. Lay all your love right on my door. I'll never fall, I'm standing tall. Go take the darkness out my heart. I know it may hurt, but it won't last forever. It's like a drug, and I love till the sun comes up. You're all out of luck.
Okay, you get the idea.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
Amazing.
I love the stuff where it's just the camera's just there and it's all the motion is in the. It's great. That's
Yeah,
really good.
and that's a particular style of dance where each of the individual dancers is dancing to the rhythm, not trying to sync up with one another. But obviously doing the same moves. For me, where that takes me, I can't stop watching it. We're having such a crisis with young men globally, right? And these movements, from the radicalization to the, I mean, my God, I don't even want to get into the stuff that's happening online, and we've been watching it happen for the last decade, really seriously, and this for young men to also being very targeted by hostile forces, right, to radicalize them in one direction or another, and to just see an expression like that of the sort of internal energy of young men in dance. And there's a whole video that happens, a kind of short film that happens before that, where the kid in the middle, the young man in the middle, is like the school bully, right? And kind of gathering. These are all the kids that he's gathered together, but they're really not hurting anything. They just have that male angst. And to see something that is an artistic expression of the male angst, and it's okay, and I can't stop watching it. I'm just thrilled about this piece of art. I'm thrilled about it.
I personally love it, and I got a chance to look at it, the video a while ago, too, when it first came out, and I was so impressed with it, especially for that young gentleman who, he's grown up in a society. He's a product of his society,
Yeah.
of bullying, right? And forced to pick a side. We're forced to either you're this or you're this, or you're that or you're this, right? So it's they don't really know what they are, so they're forced into a society of bullying. And so that's the product of who they are. But the amazing the artistical part of the music itself, and what I think about, and I shouldn't say it like this because he's my boss, one of my favorite guys. It's he took pieces from Pharrell and all these different people and mashed it all up into a song. And what I mean by that is there was a time where orchestra wasn't popular in this generation, or choirs weren't popular in this generation. So he's bringing those into the street art of music, right? Along with some of these other mainstream artists. That's real art. That's real music, right? And so I love that he's bringing these safe spaces of classical music and classical dance styles into an art form that now people are appreciating, even though they don't know where it comes from. they're being appreciated, you know, because I've got a chance to do a creative show with John Batiste at the, you know, and I was so happy about that. I was just like, wow, we have Native people, this whole thing. I'm like, this is amazing. And like to see a video like that with the art of dance and the movement and telling a story, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a banger song too, by the way.
It's a great song.
Song's a banger.
Of course.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay. So anything else, Greg?
I got nothing.
You got nothing?
I got nothing. I want to. I want to thank DJ Two Bears for coming on the show and hanging.
Oh wait, I got something to read.
I know you do.
Yeah.
Because we're going to end with what you're going to read.
We're going to end with what I'm going to read. So we'll go out on
with it.
We'll go out on it, and the show will end. I'll read it, and the show will end.
That's what it's going to be.
And so, DJ, thank you for coming on and being with us and part of our community tonight. I really, really treasure you, and I treasure your voice. And I can't wait for September. I'm going to do whatever I can to get my ass there. Hopefully, I'm not having knee surgery, but I'm gonna try to get there. I'm gonna do it. And come back when you're ready to talk about more stuff, or if anything happens that you feel like you know it's time we need to talk, let's do it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Of course. Thank you. And I'm just want to let everybody know that I don't do a lot of podcasts, you know, or anything like this.
We're honored that you came on.
And then I'm not trying to, I'm not an unhumble person or anything like that, but I get asked to do so many after my big events, and I don't do them. And I thought this would be a great time to do it now. I was like, I need to put myself in the forefront and talk a little bit more. And I'm just thankful for you guys allowing me this space and this time.
Great. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay. So here's a little backup story. I was feeling pretty low at the last weekend after this. I think it's just the stuff going on, and I decided I'm going to rewatch Andor. So at night I've been rewatching Andor, which is just, if you haven't seen it, it's just it really is. One of the as a piece of creative writing and performances all the way around the whole thing, but the writing, especially for me as a writer, it is a tour de force of this is what it looks like to put together a real resistance that can topple an empire from the people who are most oppressed, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's the nuances of how that resistance comes together. And one of the big seminal moments, and I just heard it just recently, the other night again, and I hadn't heard it since it first watched the episode, is a speech given by a senator there, Senator Mon. And she gives a speech on the floor of the Senate. And then she has to run because they're going to kill her for speaking out, right?
Yep.
And she knows that giving this speech means she's leaving her entire life behind, her husband, her daughter, everything, and going into hiding. But it has to be said. She's just very, very courageous, incredible character. And she brings all that fear into that performance. And the words landed differently for me this time. And it just spoke to me as a piece of writing. So I want to just read a section of it for you guys tonight. Disagree as we might, I am hopeful that those of you who know me will vouch for my credibility in the days to come. I stand this morning with a difficult message. I believe we are in crisis. The distance between what is said and what is known to be true has become an abyss. Of all the things at risk, the loss of an objective reality is perhaps the most dangerous. The death of truth is the ultimate victory of evil. When truth leaves us, when we let it slip away, when it is ripped from our hands, we become vulnerable to the appetite of whatever monster screams the loudest. Okay? And she's saying that because there's just been a massacre and a genocide. Mm-hmm. And the administration, the empire, has reframed it all as if the soldiers that were there committing the massacre were the true patriots and the victims, and the people who were peacefully singing when they were massacred because the empire wants their land.
And their resources.
And so their resistance was to sing. And as they're singing, they were massacred, and it all got reframed. The news cut it all got reframed because there was no shared truth. And it all got reframed as if it was the soldiers that were, these were rebels that were killing everybody, and the poor soldiers that died. So it just, having you on the show, I already had this. I knew I was going to talk about this, but it's, we got it. I say it ending on this show every week, saying we're going to get through this, just as a way of putting hope out there, always at the end. Sometimes I believe it. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I've had a really hard time saying it. But if we can fight for the truth, which art helps us do, which you, people like you, help us do, DJ, and we can stand strong, understanding that we can never let that be stripped from us, that we have to hold our ground there, then we're going to get through it.
Okay, DJ, you want to say one more thing before we go?
I want to say thank you for that, Stephanie. And that's a powerful quote, and that's a powerful reading you just said, because it also reminds me of something. And this is something that I want to leave the audience and the folks to dig down deep into the internet and to look at videos, YouTube, to find this thing, right? Because this exact quote goes back into something that reminded me of the Dakota 38+2. And that was the largest massacre that happened here on for Indigenous and Native American people on the Native or on soil here in the United States. And this was done to the Native American people by Abraham Lincoln. That's shocking to people, because Abraham Lincoln is supposed to be one of the greatest presidents to ever live in our time. But if you look up Dakota 38+2 and what had happened during that time of Indigenous people being massacred because they got the wrong people, there's a whole story to it. And that quote, what she just said, I want you to go look back and Google Dakota 38+2 and watch and read everything about it, because it relates to the T.
Wow.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
You know, we may or may not get through it, but we're going to speak getting through it into existence. We're going to get through it.